Welcome to volunteering in the Community Connections and Support section of the City of Medicine Hat. There are opportunities to volunteer at the Esplanade, a building owned by the city, in other words, Medicine Hat residents. The Esplanade houses our city's collection of artifacts, archives, and art, a state-of-the-art theatre, plus staff offices. There are also volunteer opportunities at the Strathcona Centre, another city building. The Strathcona Centre has an outdoor pool near Strathcona Park. This is where the Meals on Wheels program comes from, and where seniors meet for information and community. I'd like to thank you for your interest in learning just what volunteering at the Esplanade or the Strathcona Centre is all about. We will be running through the volunteer positions, both duties and requirements. We have a vision statement. It's that we are delivering value through exceptional public service. You may ask, why can't the city just pay people to do the jobs that volunteers do? The short answer is that the city doesn't have the money and taxpayers aren't looking for an additional increase. Esplanade volunteer time was valued last year at $230,000. In 2015, the value was $776,000. And in 2014, it was over $288,000. In a 5-year period, that would add up to around $1.2 million. By volunteering with us, or even for another city department, you will be doing your part to bring superior services to the people of Medicine Hat, while helping to keep taxes as low as possible. Another reason we need volunteers is the diversity they bring. We have some very well-educated and experienced volunteers. They bring skills and abilities that we cannot possibly keep on as regular staff. So what kinds of jobs do community connections and support volunteers do? There are a number of different volunteer positions. We'll run quickly through the different areas and then explain in more detail the requirements for each position. Volunteering in the Esplanade Theatre is often the first position people hear about. Each theatre show has numerous volunteers in a variety of positions, each with specific training. If you are interested in volunteering in the theatre because you want to sit and watch shows, you'll be disappointed. This is a job with responsibilities. While volunteers usually get to see a portion of the show, we expect a lot more from our theatre volunteers. Docents and monitors are always needed in the galleries to welcome visitors and keep an eye on the exhibit items. Education team volunteers lead school tours and assist with class activities. Volunteers also assist art teachers with programs such as Saturday art classes, the toddler and preschool programs, summer art camps, and a new program called PD Days. Archives volunteers work on directed research projects and scanning and rehousing photos. These positions are limited, and at this time there are no open volunteer positions in the archives or in museum collections. These roles require a background in the field, and very seldom is a new volunteer requested. If your interest is in the history of Medicine Hat and area, you are welcome to do your own research in the archives. It is open to the public, and the staff can assist with information on specific subjects. They have a subscription to Ancestry.com for public use, and also a subscription to JSTOR publications. Visitor services include welcome hosts, gallery hosts, and adult or non-school related tours. The Strathcona Centre receptionists work on a regular daytime schedule. Receptionists are the face of the senior centre. They sell memberships and inform patrons about activities happening in the Strathcona Centre. The Strathcona Centre's reception program requirements are time. Receptionist shifts are 4 hours long in either the morning or the afternoon. They typically work 2 to 3 shifts per month. Training, staff, or another volunteer will show you what to do, and there's always a staff member available if you need assistance. Personality type. Friendly, outgoing, caring people will make good receptionists. Behavior. Computer literate, on time, respectful with the public. So what are the perks? Knowledge. You get to learn new computer programs and your computer skills improve. Camaraderie. Receptionists get to know everyone who comes in or calls. Integration into the programming at the center, which makes you feel part of the team. The Meals on Wheels program needs drivers who will commit to delivering meals on a regular schedule. So what is required of a volunteer driver? The Strathcona Centre's Meals on Wheels program requirements are time. You will be asked to deliver meals to one area of the city, taking approximately 2 hours per day for 1 week out of a month. The training. Staff will go through the information with you and provide route maps. You will shadow another driver on the same route once or twice. Personality type. Friendly, caring people make great Meals on Wheels drivers. Behavior. You must be responsible and respectful. People are depending on you for their next meal. They also know they are a valued member of the community. What are the perks? As a driver delivering meals, you are making an impact on someone's life on a regular basis. The drivers develop friendships or camaraderie and become integrated into the programming at the Strathcona Centre. The Strathcona Centre Cyber Seniors program is a great opportunity for young people to volunteer. This program requires mentors to commit to 1-hour sessions per week for 8 weeks. The training is that a staff will go through the Cyber Senior training with you and explain the program and expectations. Personality. This job is well suited to individuals who are patient, flexible, and committed. Behavior. Showing up on time, being courteous, and respectful are needed for this position. The perks are numerous. This position helps others to achieve, so there's a sense of accomplishment after a Cyber Seniors session. This position meets the requirements for needed volunteer hours as part of a prerequisite for school or college. Also, this position is deeply satisfying in the relationships that are made. The dreaded paperwork. Before you even get to volunteer, you have homework. There are instructions to read, training videos to watch, and forms to sign. We require a police check and the vulnerable services sector check because our volunteers may work with children, elderly, and disabled people. Some of the forms have to be signed every year. The hours sign-off form is submitted to HR annually. HR? Like human resources? Yes. Volunteers are considered employees of the city. They just don't get a paycheck. As an unpaid employee, you are subject to the same expectations and protections as the paid employees outside the union. There's a training for each position. The volunteer's behavior must exemplify city standards. Volunteers are covered by WCB if injured while on the job. Step 1 is to read through the Policy and Procedures Manual and then submit the application. You'll be contacted for an interview, at which time it will be determined if there's a suitable position for you. If no positions are available to match your qualifications, other organizations may be suggested as a better fit. Once you have been interviewed and all your homework is turned in, the training begins. We have different training requirements for each area, and we'll go through that with the position information. On the volunteer website, there is training in the form of videos and manuals. This is a good way to become familiar with position duties and also as refreshers if you haven't done it in a while. Now, for more information about the Esplanade positions. Every theatre show requires ushers, greeters, and usually gallery monitors. Only once or twice per year will a request come from the tech staff to provide some volunteer assistance backstage. This does not happen very often, and it's disappointing for people who would like to volunteer backstage. But if it's your desire to volunteer backstage, it might be best to contact Medicine Hat Musical Theatre, Fire Hall Theatre, or one of the high school drama departments. What does an usher do? Ushers are on the front line with the public during a theatre event. Some of their job is to check tickets and assist public during a theatre performance, but their number one duty is to evacuate the theatre in an emergency. They receive specific training for this position. Shifts are usually 4 to 5 hours long and can run late depending on the show. You must be able to make time to attend training. All required training must be completed. There is training for Level 1 and Level 2 ushers. Your first shift will be with a mentor volunteer who will take you under their wing and help you to understand why we do what we do. Every usher shift begins with a briefing and a physical walkthrough of an evacuation route. Ushers need to be physically able. They must be able to manage stairs, because there are stairs not only in the building but in the theatre as well. Ushers must be able to stand for long periods of time on cement floors. They must be able to work in the balcony. The reason for this is not to be exclusive, but to offer the safest conditions for the public and to protect ushers from risking an injury during an emergency situation. The usher personality is calm. If you fluster too easily, you will not be able to direct people in an emergency. And you need to be amenable. You have to be able to take orders. Ushers have to be able to get along with the people they work with, and they need to be flexible. Things can change without a lot of warning, and you have to be able to go with the flow, or it will be very stressful. The behavior is following instruction given by front of house staff or tech staff. The FOH, or front of house, is the supervisor of the volunteers during the theatre show. Ushers are requested by the front of house staff to help with the theatre program. The tech staff will only instruct in a special situation but are always to be heeded. Follow the guidelines as set out in the handbook, show up on time, get along with the people you're working with, and willingly take turns monitoring the lobby during a show. That sounds like a lot of work, but there are perks. The camaraderie that develops among the volunteers is wonderful to see. It's a place you can come where you're needed and where you're welcomed. You can visit for an evening and then just go home, and it hasn't cost you a lot. Ushers get to see portions of the show. It's not the whole show, but they do get to see some of it. They're integrated into the theatre part of the Esplanade, so they really become part of the team. And they can earn points. When you work tougher shows, like dance competitions, you get to use those points to sign up quicker for some of the more popular shows. What does a greeter do? Well, they do greet people as they enter for a theatre show. Greeters are encouraging patrons to visit the galleries, offering direction and information about the building, the show, or Esplanade programming. Their role is important in the prevention of alcohol leaving the building or even coming into the building. Greeters receive some specific training for their position, and greeters are the first face that the patrons see often as they enter the building. Greeters have longer shifts than ushers. They have to remain in their positions for at least 15 minutes after the show begins, and 15 minutes after it resumes following an intermission. They have to stay until all the patrons have left the building or the front of house releases them at the end of the night. And why do they have to stay by the entrance after the show starts? It's because medicine hatters are notoriously late to arrive and always take longer to smoke outside than the intermissions allow for. Greeters are trained specifically with greeters workshops and with the training by the AGLC. To be considered for a greeter, the volunteer must have attended and kept current the Level Usher 2 training, and they must be recommended by staff. Greeters attend the workshop and pass the ProServe online certification training. The personality of the greeter is someone who understands the importance of the role and is able to carry out the responsibility with equal amounts of courage and courtesy. The greeter has to be able to tell a patron they can't take their drink outside during intermissions in such a way that the patron doesn't feel offended. Now, ushers do the same thing in the lobby when the show is on and someone might come out of the theater. But the greeters are the ones that are there before the show and during intermission, so they handle the majority of the traffic. The gallery directors count on the greeters to know a little about current exhibits so as to encourage patrons to visit before the show begins. Greeters are also responsible to know things like where the change machine is located or what time the archives opens in the morning. The important behavior for greeters is that they follow instruction, stay in position. Wanderers will never be greeters. And they must be flexible. They may not get any show details until their shift begins. It sounds like a lot of work. Are there any perks to being a greeter? I think there are. Greeters share the camaraderie with the usher team. They also have the opportunity to enjoy the entertainment from the back of the balcony approximately 15 minutes after the show starts until just before intermission, and 15 minutes after intermission until just before the encore. So greeters are integrated into the team, and greeters are often the ones that get to know the staff a little better. Gallery hosts or monitors are always needed in the galleries to welcome patrons and monitor the museum, art gallery, or heritage gallery before a theatre performance. We need gallery hosts during the day as well, when the galleries may be visited by out-of-towners and locals. The hosts welcome visitors and monitors or keep an eye on the exhibit items. During the day, we like to have a gallery host available for visitors. Hosts need to know a little about current exhibits, but do not need to have an art or history background. These volunteers may assist with art gallery receptions or heritage gallery receptions or an archives reception. Often these receptions will be held together on the same night, but sometimes they are held as an individual event. Gallery hosts work 1 to 2 hours before a theatre performance to host the exhibits for the theatre patrons. The training includes learning gallery etiquette, attending curators' tours whenever possible, and/or shadowing an experienced gallery volunteer. We have an annual education team seminar that gallery hosts are welcome to attend. What kind of personality fits this role? Well, someone that's outgoing and friendly are the first traits that come to mind. Initiating polite conversation is a must. The other is confidence, because you must be comfortable enforcing the rules of etiquette for visitors to the gallery. Behavior. Those who take an interest in art or history take responsibility for learning about the exhibitions and are able to politely tell someone not to touch will make good gallery volunteers. What are the perks? Gallery volunteers connect with others in the role and begin attending art walks together and other events. They also have the opportunity to visit with the ushers when the show is on. Entertainment. When volunteering on show nights, gallery hosts can go in the back of the balcony to watch the first 15 or 20 minutes of the show. They are integrated into the team, and they can also work towards points to stay occasionally for a full show. We have an education team. This is a group of volunteers who lead tours for school classes or help the education coordinator in the Discovery Centre with the activity portion of students' visits. All school programs are weekdays and each shift averages 2 hours, but there are a lot of school tours and tour guides or docents must commit to attending training. An annual training seminar with relevant speakers and learning activities is held once a year, usually in September. The curator-director of the art gallery and the archives and museum staff provide a tour for volunteers every time there's a new exhibit. Volunteers are expected to invest time in learning about new exhibits or programs so they can lead the tour with focus on the right subject for the grade level. All school tours and activities are curriculum appropriate, and materials such as tour scripts and lesson plans are provided by the Esplanade's education coordinator. Those who are assisting in the Discovery Centre don't have to be as informed about the exhibitions, but they do have to be willing to prep for projects. Sometimes this is sharpening pencils or using a hot glue gun. The personality traits associated with a good tour guide. Well, when I think about the best tours I've attended, one thing that stands out is that the guides were all passionate about the subject. They enjoyed people, they could speak comfortably in public, were good listeners, courteous, and had a positive attitude. These are qualities that our education team possess. Behaviors that are important are they treat all students and teachers with respect. Make sure everything you say is truth. The perks, well, this is where the camaraderie really shines. This group has become very good friends. They work together and have fun together. They are extremely important to the programming and are depended upon by the education coordinator. Some have even covered for the education coordinator during an emergency absence. They are usually deeply integrated into the culture of the program. Sometimes exchange students will come as part of a short-term program. The Esplanade is always looking for tour guides who can speak another language besides English. We need more French-speaking volunteers, especially for the French schools programs. Gallery training tours are becoming more popular because the curator's knowledge makes the tours so interesting. All volunteers in either location are welcome to attend the training tours, even if they volunteer in another programming area. Hidden from public view, but occasionally included in the volunteer tours, is the collection area. If you've ever watched a TV show with cold case files, you will know how this type of shelving works. You turn the crank and the whole shelf slides over to allow access. Also in the collections area are shelves full of shoes, chairs, and even a wall of saddles. There are many artifacts stored inside the Esplanade and even a few larger items stored elsewhere on city property. Less than 5% of the city's collection of historic artifacts are on display in the museum gallery. There are numerous events that take place at both the Esplanade and the Strathcona Centre. Sometimes volunteers will scoop ice cream, sometimes they may hand out cupcakes. These shifts are usually short and lots of fun. Programming at the Esplanade and at the Strathcona Centre is dependent upon dedicated volunteers. Now that you know more about our volunteer opportunities, we hope you'll consider volunteering with us.